Presidential Spokesman Ernesto Abella on Thursday slams a Human Rights Watch report as thoughtless and irresponsible after it accused the Philippine National Police of being behind extrajudicial killings in the Duterte administration's war on drugs. The report released Thursday claims the killings in the war on drugs constitute a war on humanity. Abella says, quote, "A war on criminality is not a war on humanity. On the contrary, it is a war precisely to protect humanity from a modern-day evil." Abella adds any opposition or mislabeling of such a campaign against criminals is to pander to the interests of the criminals. He also dismisses as mere allegation in the HRW claim that police plant evidence to justify shooting suspects during anti-drug operations. Senator Panfilo Lacson earlier showed CCTV footage of police allegedly planting drugs in an office to justify a supposed drug raid. On January 30, President Rodrigo Duterte canceled the war on drugs after cops were implicated in the murder of South Korean Jiik Ju. But on Tuesday, Duterte allowed the PNP's return to the front lines of the drug war. HRW says it found no distinction between cases where individuals were killed by what police call as unknown suspects and deaths during police operations. More than 7,000 people have been killed in the Duterte administration's war on drugs since July 1. Official numbers from the PNP distinguish between suspected drug personalities killed in police operations and extrajudicial killings. HRW examined 24 incidents resulting in 32 deaths between October 2016 and January 2017 from Metro Manila and nearby provinces and noted that the cases shared similarities with the vast majority of the cases reported in the media. HRW pointed to the use of face masks, arrests in white vans, and the arrival of groups of armed men that, quote, mirror countless other operations by undercover police. Peter Bocart, Emergencies Director for the Human Rights Watch, says, quote, "If you go to these neighborhoods and see how heavily policed they are, ask yourself, is it possible to have a group of killers, 8-10 people, to drive around every night, night after night, around these neighborhoods and kill people without working together with the police? It doesn't meet the test of reality." Senate President Koko Pimentel says it will be a close fight between senators who are for and against the revival of the death penalty. This after the bill breezed through the second reading in the House of Representatives. Pimentel says, quote, "Close fight. I'm predicting maybe anywhere from 14 versus 10 or 10 versus 14 either way." He adds it will depend on whether the senators who are willing to consider the death penalty will eventually be convinced. Pimentel is a party mate of President Rodrigo Duterte, who wants to revive the death penalty as a form of retribution. The Senate president used to oppose the death penalty but has since changed his mind, saying it can be imposed for the most heinous crime of big-time, high-level syndicated drug trafficking. The Senate already conducted 2 hearings on the death penalty, which were suspended after then Senate President pro tempore Frank Drilon argued the Philippines couldn't reimpose the death penalty because it would violate international treaties. But Pimentel says treaties and conventions should not tie our hands because it's the Philippines that must decide on the solutions to problems under its jurisdiction. A new Malacanang policy. Only Presidential Spokesman Ernesto Abella can issue palace statements after highly publicized gaffes from Communications Secretary Martin Andanar. Abella confirms only his office can release palace statements, while Andanar will focus on overseeing the Communications Office's programs, departments, and the various state-run media. He adds content and messaging has been assigned to him. Andanar says the entire PCOO content group is now under Abella, but he might speak from time to time if Abella is not around. The new directive comes in the wake of a series of communications blunders that became news headlines. The first was when Andanar and Abella gave contradicting interpretations of the financial assistance Duterte promised to Surigao residents during his visit right after a deadly earthquake. The second was when Andanar claimed Senate reporters were offered $1,000 to cover the press briefing of former policeman Arthur Las Cañas on Duterte's role in the Davao Death Squad. Before the new directive, Andanar and Abella alternated in issuing palace statements on the pressing issues of the day. Police on Thursday break into Angel Manalo's house at 36 Tandang Sora, the subject of conflicting ownership claims within homegrown church Iglesia ni Cristo. The police supposedly didn't have any search warrant. Manalo, younger brother of INC Executive Minister Eduardo Manalo, says, quote, "They pointed guns at us, so we did not move. We just raised our hands. We did not want to be violent, didn't want casualties." Angel says residents have been deprived of their basic needs. The houses of their parents had been demolished, while his own house was backhoed last Monday. Past noon, Angel, his family, and companions were brought to Camp Caringal in Quezon City. Former Senator Renessa Gisag, lawyer of Angel's family, is also barred from entering the compound. The property has been the subject of conflict in the Manalo family. The Quezon City Court has allowed the Manalo siblings to stay in the property. Random masked men and police also drive away a Rappler coverage team at 36 Tandang Sora. At past 9:30 a.m., Rappler researcher Rambo Talabong was picked up and interrogated by barangay officials, while Rappler journalist Adrian Portugal was threatened by a masked man and was told to, quote, "leave immediately if you don't want trouble." Top-ranked promoter Bob Arum says talks of a fight between Philippine Senator Manny Pacquiao and British boxer Amir Khan on April 23 is also premature. This after Pacquiao's advisor Michael Conch told Yahoo that the fight would take place in the United Arab Emirates on May 19 instead of the proposed date of April 23. Arum had earlier said Pacquiao will fight unbeaten Australian Jeff Horn on April 23. Pacquiao and Khan previously tweeted they had reached an agreement for the fight. Arum says he did discuss several possibilities with Conch, but the fight will depend on whether the UAE investors can produce the $38 million Arum said they're promising. The fight must also work within the fighters' schedules. The Philippine Senate will be in recess from March 18 to May 1 and June 3 to July 23. Khan, a British-born Muslim of Pakistani descent, doesn't fight during Ramadan, which will be observed from May 27 to June 24.